In our leading story, the new Premier of the Northwest Province, Professor Job Mokgoro, is to be sworn in tomorrow. Professor Mokgoro is the Premier-elect to succeed erstwhile Northwest Premier Supra Mahumapelo. Mokgoro is the former Director General of the province. Mahumapelo vacated office last month amidst mounting pressure for his resignation. Afro Worldview reporter Natasha Piri filed the story.
So the special NWC unanimously resolved on the nomination of Comrade Professor Job Mokgoro as Premier-elect for the Northwest Province. Professor Mokgoro is a tried and tested activist and administrator fit enough to deal with the challenges at hand, including creating stability within the provincial administration and effecting the much-needed delivery of basic services. And I'm sure we have agreed that it will be good for the Alliance and the ANC, everybody and society to support him.
And with that, former Director General of the Northwest Administration, Job Mokgoro, is the man to replace former Northwest Premier Supra Mahumapelo. Mokgoro was chosen by the ANC's National Working Committee at a meeting that took place on Wednesday. Mahumapelo asserts the appointment of Professor Mokgoro, who is currently responsible for the School of Governance in the Northwest Provincial Administration.
As the PEC, we will be supporting unashamedly, without any ambiguousness. We will relentlessly support the new Premier, who is deployed by the African National Congress, Professor Mokgoro. We will, as the officials in the province, the PWC and the PC, be working with him.
Magashule further reiterated that the Limpopo Provincial Conference will take place from the 22nd to the 24th of June, despite a small number of disgruntled ANC members in the province that threatened to take the party to court.
People who intended to interdict in the conference, and they've been engaged, and whatever the team of Comrade Togo Didiza and the province and some NEC members are there to deal with whatever challenges. But Limpopo is ready starting tomorrow. It's ready for the conference.
Magashule urged ANC members to refrain from taking the party to court, but instead should exhaust all internal processes. Supra Mahumapelo has described the Northwest Premier-elect as one of the best administrators the country has ever seen and has thrown his full weight of support behind him. Meanwhile, the SG of the ANC, Ace Magashule, says it's all systems go for the upcoming Limpopo conference that will take place over this weekend. Natasha Piri, Afro Worldview, Johannesburg.
Well, joining us now in studio to discuss this further is the leader of the Revolutionary Council, Tato Wamahohori, also joined by Sanko Gauteng Provincial Chairperson, Chris Malemaja, the COPE National Chairperson, Pegs Dikhetsi, Professor Sipho Siepe, political analyst, and last but not least, we'll be joined by more people on the phone line, but I'll introduce them as and when they join the discussion. Good evening to you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Maybe let me start with you, Malemaja. Just a 70-year-old man appointed into this position, a very powerful position. Do you think that this is reflective of the ANC not having any new talent?
No, thanks. Let me take this opportunity to join line of thousands and millions who are congratulating him for being the premier candidate, waiting for tomorrow to be officially sworn in. I think the occasion won't be correct, and I won't agree with it on the basis that we're currently not necessarily looking for somebody for future. We're looking for somebody with experience to just go there and stabilize the situation. Remember, the Northwest situation is no longer an issue of Northwest. It was bordering all the neighboring provinces. That is where we are really supporting this. We are saying the timing and the kind of the character of the candidate that has been agreed upon will really neutralize and stabilize the situation in a way that this man will never have some ambitions of becoming the premier in the next 5 years and the next 10 years too. What he will have to be doing there is to just say, all of you boys and girls, can we work together for the sake of the masses and nothing else?
Well, let me bring you in, Ndate Mahohori. Do you think it's a good idea not to be thinking about the future, as he mentioned, actually just looking for a leader just for the now, not for the future?
I think, firstly, as he has done, we must begin by saying, as the Revolutionary Council, we step in to welcome the appointment of Dr. Job Mokgoro, Professor, as the new Premier for the Northwest, because he comes with this impeccable experience of governance that he comes in. But I don't think that bringing in this intervention means you're not being futuristic. You've got to stabilize now so that the future is safe. And on that basis, we really support his appointment, but we really must indicate that we will be watching him, obviously, every day, step to step, and ensuring that he's able to deliver in his mandate of ensuring that he brings clean governance in the Northwest, and most importantly, he's able to play the role of being able to stabilize such that no factions reign supreme in the Northwest. Most importantly, ensuring that the interests of our people are taken care of.
Mr. Dekgetse, your thoughts?
Well, Professor Mokgoro is a very good man. He brings with him good wisdom, good experience. He's a professional man and a man of integrity that I have known for quite some time. However, he is thrown into a situation that is going to make his task very difficult. The reality of the matter is that the factional fault lines have not been resolved. And as we all know, the ANC prides itself in saying that its deployees must execute a mandate of the party. The reality is that in this current situation, which mandate is he going to execute? It's a very precarious situation that will continue the destabilization that we currently see in Northwest. Last year, the Human Sciences Research Council conducted a citizens' attitude survey, and that survey pointed out that only 14% of the people of Northwest have got confidence in how democracy functions in the Northwest. What it suggests is that public trust in the institutions of democracy have been eroded because of this situation that we are seeing. And as Congress of the People, it is something that is worrying us, and it is something that we will continue to find ways of addressing and making sure that the values of our Constitution to serve our people without any expectations of self-interest are actually guarded.
Well, let me just also welcome the ANC Youth League National Spokesperson, Mondli Mkhize, who joins us via telephone. Good evening to you, Mr. Mkhize. Thank you for joining us. As a member of the Youth League, do you feel that perhaps the African National Congress should have taken advantage of Youth Month by actually appointing somebody much younger on the interim basis?
Well, the greetings to the panelists and to the viewers and to you. I think the first point that the ANC Youth League would want to register is that when you don't solve a political problem and you want to, at some point, deal with administrative affairs, it becomes difficult. I think the point is that this method has been tried somewhere else by the African National Congress, and it would have not necessarily yielded the results expected. What the ANC Youth League would want to emphasize is the fact that the African National Congress leadership must deal with the political problems in the Northwest that would in turn affect a positive mood in the administrative affairs of government of the Northwest. That having been said, the ANC Youth League would have obviously appreciated an involvement of young people. There's an indication of confidence, or something that we have consistently indicated. But however, we do acknowledge the fact that the person appointed on an interim basis brings a sufficient experience to hold together what seems to be a collapse of institutions from a point of view of perception and from that which has been obtained thus far. And therefore, I think that such a character of that person would then necessitate that people might have a positive effect of reflecting and having confidence in his structures of governance. But the African National Congress need not to only look at that. The African National Congress ought to ensure that it deals with political problems in such environment like the Northwest.
Mr. Mkhize, stay with us on the phone line as I come back to studio. Professor, Mr. Dekgetse mentioned something about the factions. It seems that even though, as the ANC came out of the conference, they were singing a tune of unity, the factions are still visible in all the provinces. Do you think that maybe Professor Mokgoro is somebody who can bring unity to the Northwest at the least?
Well, I think all the speakers are raising a number of important considerations. Dekgetse raised the issue first that Mokgoro is a cadre of the ANC. So effectively, once you understand that, you also is saying to him that your challenge is not only about the ANC, it's also about the province. So that's the first one. My colleagues here, Chris, has actually raised the issue that what you have in the ANC is an attempt to solve a political problem, a problem that had led within the ANC to factionalism, a factionalism that had fueled where we are today. And of course, there are other issues of corruption that come into the play. But the mere fact that you choose to get an administrator to come in suggests that the political problem has not been solved, which is what the spokesman of the Youth League is saying, that sometimes coming up with solutions that are administrative to a political problem does not solve a political problem. But what should be also noted is that Job Mokgoro himself is a political animal, and he has had the benefit of having worked in Northwest. So he's not somebody who's been parachuted and goes to a place that he does not know. And most of the people, even on both factions that are there, have actually worked with him. So you must also understand another element, that Northwest Province is under administration. So effectively, you also need somebody with an understanding of the administrative process of government, so that he is not seen as a stumbling block to those who are involved with the process of administration. So Job Mokgoro brings that element. But what he also must be able to address is that he must play the role of unifying. And it's also good that the outgone Premier and the PEC have actually been given the responsibility to come up with names. But what I see as a sobering is the input of the Revolutionary Council, where they actually say, despite the disagreement on both factions, they also are able to recognize good people amongst themselves. It is not the case where you have a battle between the saints and the devils. It is a question of, can we find somebody who can bring stability first, so that you address the issue of administration. Secondly, can you bring somebody who can say, as he put it nicely, can I say, boys and girls, let's have a discussion. So you bring somebody with a certain degree of maturity, and also somebody who does not have a political ambition. I should indicate that Job has always been a political animal from his university days at Fort Hare. But what he has chosen is more a role in government as an administrator, as an implementer. So here we have a challenge with the Northwest, whose governance must function. This is why it has been brought under administration, because it was no longer able to fulfill certain obligations that are constitutional. So you bring somebody with that, but at the same time, what has been raised is that there are also political issues that need to be resolved, and they cannot be solved simply through technical processes.
Now, Professor's mentioned these political issues that are looming. What do you think some of the most immediate issues that Mr. Mokgoro should actually face would be? Because you said you're going to be keeping a close eye on him.
Well, maybe let's start with the political issues, which are not necessarily his forte. The political issues that are unresolved or deferred, as it were, would be the issue of the dissolution of the current discredited PEC. Because this is the very PEC that has presided over what today would be called a failed government in the Northwest. And therefore, in their injudiciousness, it is very obvious that they would not be able to assist Ntate Mokgoro in his new responsibility, because, for instance, there would be investigations against individuals who are, for instance, some of them are in the PEC. So it's important that as a starting point, we deal with the issue of the dissolution of the PEC. Remember, the Northwest story is a story of a three-legged pot. And you can't fix one leg when two are broken and hope that the pot will stand on its own. So you've got to fix, as is already happening now, the leg of governance, but even the issue of the ANC first. Now, coming back to the issue of the governance issues that Mokgoro has to grapple with. Obviously, there's an interministerial committee report that is on the table, and they're going to be releasing that report. And we believe that what has been released preliminarily should be the basis of a roadmap moving forward, which includes, amongst others, investigating the current corruption allegations that have been made. Most importantly, looking at the different line function departments and checking which ones should be falling under 100A, which ones should be falling under 100B. But more seriously, ultimately, bringing back the ability of government to be able to deliver services, basic services to our people, which has been paralyzed by the outgone administration. So those are amongst the immediate things that you should handle. In conclusion, one must say that obviously our challenge is that we don't want a situation where in the current environment, now he's blocked by this current PEC if he has to sign off an investigation of corruption against which some of them are being fingered. So that is the challenge of the Northwest that we've got to be able to grapple with. So you can't deal with one element, which is government, and not deal with the completion of the puzzle, which is the ANC challenge of a PEC that is seen in the eyes of the people of the Northwest as obviously not credible.
I'd like just to add on to that as well. Do you have any additional issues that you think should be made the focus of his first 100 days in office?
Well, yes, there are major issues of critical importance to the people of Northwest. The problem currently is that the ANC internal squabbles have paralyzed service delivery in the Northwest. That government is not focused on creating jobs. That government is not focused on providing healthcare services and education. It is focused on how to deal with the factions internally in the ANC, and that is the problem that is facing. So we need to remember that if the ANC is the majority party, obviously, in government. However, what they do and don't do impacts on the lives of all the people of Northwest, irrespective of party political affiliation. So one would expect a person of the caliber of Professor Mokgoro to provide a focus on the issues of the municipalities that have collapsed. The Auditor General last month released a report that showed the total disaster that is taking place in Northwest, that out of the 10 top worst performers of local government in the country, 4 of them are based in Northwest. And that is the challenge that he has got to deal with, convincingly so. Otherwise, the erosion of trust in public institutions will continue to deepen. And that is a risk not only to the Northwest province, but to the rest of our country. And that is absolutely critical for us. In fact, it's got to start with that Premier's office, which the Auditor General said in his 2016-17 audit outcome, that office failed to provide leadership to departments in the provincial administration.
Now, Mr. Mkhize, what do you think the Northwest government should actually do to resharpen their focus?
Well, the primary issue is to address the issues of improper functions of government. Secondly, just allay all fears of civil servants and then the community of the Northwest as a province to indicate that the African National Congress has made an intervention that seeks to stabilize and create a conducive environment for all the people in the Northwest to do what they would want to do and to ensure that they use the services of government and that government is able to provide services to our people. I think that's the most critical aspect that we want to see out of that an affirmation of that and ensuring that we increase the service delivery would be a positive sign that the African National Congress Youth League will be looking towards.
Well, Ms. Mkhize, thank you very much for joining us. So we'll let you go. That was the ANC Youth League's national spokesperson, Mr. Mlondi Mkhize, there on the phone line. Just coming to you, Mr. Malemecha. Now, reports say that Mr. Mokgoro, Professor Mokgoro, as well as, other panelists, is actually well known for his work ethics, his acumen, everything that he's been doing, serving the ANC and the country for the past couple of decades. Do you think that that makes him the best person to bring back a good governance to the province?
Yeah, I think we support him based on the experience given and the well-being of him. And the other thing that I think we must also do is to applaud the ANC for being so decisive by bringing a person who will be able to do away with the unnecessary political standoff. If you are to do good service delivery in any environment, either interim or environment, if you've got what is called a standoff, you are not going to move. But for now, because they've brought in an experienced somebody, academic for that particular matter, supported by the age and the experience, as Prof. Sebe put it clear that from where he has been working, even in the very same province, I strongly believe that there will be change. And the change won't be about him. There will be a change that is going to benefit people of Northwest. And that is all what we are crying for. We don't want to see who operate, who occupy what position. If the people of Northwest can get what COPE has been crying about, there be proper running of government, where there will be services, where the collapsed municipalities will come back in a form of regaining from what they've lost, I think that will be achieved. Therefore, Proper's character is one of the characters that I think is going to do best and will really take Northwest where it is now. Because one way or another, without wasting much time in going around, Supra has messed up. Supra and the cronies, they've collapsed the government. For a mere fact that now this Northwest is under administration, we must not speak as if it's about a bonus. It's not a bonus. They've collapsed it. When Cyril Ramaphosa is talking about the collapse of the government and mentioning all the departments, it is worse there. Then in such case, why do we still massage the situation rather to zoom straight and say, Supra and the team, I will agree that they must vacate. And if I had powers, I would say he must reshuffle because he's going to have a serious problem of working with people who might want to try and serve two lords.
Well, there actually are some talks of an imminent reshuffle and, some hopes that Professor Mokgoro will actually appoint people who are, like you say, perhaps in the middle ground, in the unity faction, as opposed to being on one side or the other. Now, just in closing, Professor, before you give me your closing comments, just let me know if you think we can expect a very peaceful swearing-in ceremony tomorrow?
Well, I think we can expect that. I think he enters a situation where there's a goodwill among all political parties. That's the first thing. But secondly, he's also coming in with the support of national government. When you talk about a government that is under administration, it means you're also working with national government to deal with the issue of stability. So I do expect that there'll be less problems in terms of the swearing in. But at the same time, the issue of the political problem will need to be managed. And whether he's the right person to manage that, it's something else, because that may still require a certain degree of national intervention in terms of a dialogue among the warring factions within the ANC. But for now, the focus is for the ANC to give people a sense of hope, to say there's stability and there's an attempt to resolve those obligations, constitutional obligations that the province was unable to address. So I think this is the first step. The next step is a political problem, and he might be able to bring them. But if there's been a standoff for such a long time, you may need somebody beyond him, not only...
Well, Professor, we're almost out of time. Let me give you 30 seconds each, gentlemen. I'll start with you, Tato.
Well, our parting shot is that, firstly, as the Revolutionary Council, we congratulate Professor Mokgoro for his appointment, and we want to assure him that we will support him, but we will not be complacent. We are going to watch every step he takes, and if there is suspicion that he wants to be a proxy of the current PC, we will obviously be the first to raise our hands. We believe that the greatest threat to any revolution is not the competence of its detractors, but the complacency of its protagonists. So we're going to watch every step. But we support him for now, and we will wish him well in his job. And we want
Mr.
to
Dikgesi, just 30 seconds to you.
Okay?
Yeah, well, obviously, this experience in Northwest says that people need to look carefully at how they elect and what they elect. That we need to make sure that in future we elect men and women of the truth, men and women who will serve the people. And we believe as COPE that one way of ensuring that we get trustworthy leaders is that the electoral system must be amended to allow for the voters to directly elect the president, the premiers, and the municipal managers. In that way, there'll be better accountability and there'll be better contract between the voters and the leaders.
Well, let's leave it there, gentlemen. Thank you so much to our highly esteemed panelists for joining us this evening, and to you, our viewers. It is time now for a short break, but stay tuned for Afro Business coming up next.